Welcome back, Legends, to another episode review and breakdown for DC's Legend Tomorrow, Season 7. Today we are talking about Episode 10, and can you believe it? There's only 13 episodes in the season, so we have 3 episodes left. So we really are kind of getting down to the wire here, and it feels like the season just started. Obviously, it just came back from its mid-season break, but already we are almost done with this season. We have Episode 10 here, which definitely is off to a slow start. There were some confusing parts throughout, but I'd say by the end of it, things really came together and turned out to be at least a good enough episode of Legend of Tomorrow. Could have been better, could have been worse. But anyways, guys, spoiler warning, if you've not yet seen this episode, we are talking full spoilers for this episode. There's some really cool stuff going on here, including a surprise character turn at the end of the episode, which I already talked about in last week's video. But without further ado, let's go and jump into this and break down DC's Legend of Tomorrow, Season 7, Episode 10. So when we start off the episode, the Legends, their plan is to lure out the android Legends so that they can get back their Waverider. And their plan to do that is by making them think that they are trying to prevent World War I. And they're trying to prevent the assassination of the Archduke, which I'm not really good with history, so I don't know his connection to World War I. If you do, then let me know in the comments below. But I mean, sure, I take a college history class in high school, but I'm not that smart, although I should probably know that. But anyway, back to the episode. See, that is their plan, that is their basic plan throughout this episode, but when they get actually putting the plan into motion, they get taken into this time traveler's bar, because we find out that the assassination of the Archduke is actually a fixed point in time. So it's something that you cannot reverse, something that you cannot change via time travel. So it's literally a bar full of a bunch of time travels that are there to prevent World War I, and they're all trying all their different crazy methods, and nobody has been able to do it yet. And so they even have a full-on ticket system that, like, everybody's taking their own turns, and you keep going out there, and they keep dying over and over again, and being basically reset and rebooted back into the bar again. And it's just a whole bunch of madness throughout this episode. So that's what's going on there. But before we continue on talking about how all of that big storyline is resolved in this episode, I want to talk about just some smaller character moments. Like, for example, the relationship and scenes between Dr. Gwen Davies and Ava in this episode, where, of course, throughout this whole season, since Gwyn joined the team, his whole thing has been that, alright, if I'm going to help you with this whole time travel thing, you have to help me save Alan, who, of course, was the love of his life. He died during the war, World War I, I believe it was. And so that's his big number one goal in the season. But they kind of realize here that if Alan survives, then Gwyn would never go on to invent time travel, and then the Legends would never exist, and then Waverider and all that stuff. So it causes a whole bunch of problems within the timeline. So Gwyn is fully ready to make the sacrifice, and as long as Alan is alive and he survives, he doesn't care if he has to be alone and go on living life heartbroken. And of course you have Ava backing him up and be like, you know, you're still cool, like, you know, loving another guy is not wrong and all that stuff. So we had just a great relationship between those two characters. Gwen Davies' character, that obviously is a new character for this season, hasn't really had that much going on with the character, but I do like these little moments with him that we get throughout the season here and there. And then we actually get kind of a similar part of the storyline with Spooner and Zari, where first of all they're just like hanging out for the first time. They kind of get to know each other a little better, because Zari always thought that Spooner didn't like her, and Spooner always thought that Zari thought she was better than her. So they kind of come to terms and they're like, hey, we should actually be friends and all this stuff. And by the end of it, Spooner actually realizes that she is asexual, which is something I was kind of theorizing about for a while there. I thought that she would end up with Astra, but of course now Astra is with Behrad. So I had a feeling that she was at least somewhere along those lines. Now we do finally get an answer here, and she doesn't even know what that means. So Zari actually gives her a little bit of an education on that. So I thought that was cool and really a nice character moment for Spooner. I feel like that really helps develop her character, because again, another character that was kind of recently introduced in last season, hasn't really had that much to do in this season, but I thought this was great character development for Spooner. But anyway, the Legends start trying to figure out what is going on here. Why are they not able to prevent the World War I and the assassination of the Archduke, why is this a fixed point? So they find out that actually there is some guy in a top hat that is freezing time. So Gwyn builds them an anti-time manipulator that allows them to find out who this top hat guy is. So Sara is about to save the day when top hat guy shows up, and it's revealed that top hat guy is actually none other than Eobard Thawne, played by Matt Letcher, who of course I talked about in last week's video, that he would be popping up in this episode, and he did. And he was definitely cool, although he mentions here that he doesn't have his speed. Now, I'm assuming that this is referring to the recent episodes of The Flash Season 8 with the Armageddon crossover event. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet. But basically, Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash, in that played by Tom Cavanaugh, is basically the main villain of the Armageddon crossover event. And by the end of it, the way that they defeat him is they actually take away his speed. Team Flash takes away his speed. So I'm assuming that they're just going with the fact that this is like the same version of the character. It's so confusing when they use two different actors, especially because I prefer Matt Letcher as Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne. So I wish that he'd just play the character on The Flash as well instead of bringing back Tom Cavanaugh every time. Because it just gets confusing when you have like two different actors playing the same character and like just... It just feels weird to say that, like, that character that was in the Armageddon crossover event is now with the Legends. It just feels weird. It feels really weird. But at the same time, you kind of just got to go with it. Hopefully they can get things figured out better for the future. But anyway, like I said, he does pop up here. And he is the man in the top hat, like I said. And he has actually been sent to protect this fixed point. But eventually he agrees to help Sara. So she is able to prevent the Archduke's assassination, or at least delay it for a little bit to attract the attention of the android legends, and the episode ends with the Waverider coming in, and now we are preparing for battle, preparing for war of the real Legends of Tomorrow versus the android Legends of Tomorrow, which we will be seeing in next week's episode, which I think is going to be pretty cool to see. We finally get to see both of these teams on screen, because of course the first episode with after our mid-season break, that was all about the android legends. So now we're going to be getting a mixture of the real legends and the android legends, and I'm definitely excited to see that. But anyways, guys, that was DC's Legend Tomorrow Season 7, Episode 10. You can let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. What do you think about the episode, and where do you think things are going from here? So guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I keep it to date on everything goes on in the